Hello, everyone. It is Dynasty Roundtable, except different because today we are going to be drafting a Best Ball Mania team while also kind of giving Dynasty info at the same time. I feel like there's a million things going on, so I haven't had time to properly promote the show. I haven't had time. There's so much. It's craziness behind the scenes of PlayerProfiler. Yeah. Matt, so why don't you tell the people what they're in store for if I haven't already stolen your thunder?
I don't think you stole any of my thunder because I'm in I feel like we're both in similar boats right now. And yeah, there's a lot going on. But today we're going to do a little bit of a more low key episode. We'll call it maybe a draft and chill for our youthful outreach. We're trying to get the youths in here checking out our podcast. So yeah, right. The youths.
Yeah.
So today we are going to do a 3-way underdog draft off. Don't worry. And while we do that, we are going to just talk Dynasty. It could be about the players that we're drafting. It could be, the players we're fading. We're just going to let the conversation free flow. So if you have Dynasty questions in the chat, trade questions, now is a great time to start racking those up, and we can work our way through those as we go through the show. So today's a day that we want to spend time with you, the chat, and just kind of go off script and just talk some Dynasty and have a little fun.
And we also have a tried and true member of the round table with us tonight, Aditya Foldiore, who was live at the expo. He's got a couple of videos up on the YouTube page as well. So welcome in, Aditya. And we'll try to. Are you guys ready for this?
Yeah.
I am sitting on my Underdog app, just raring to go.
All right, I'm gonna click. You all at home can join us too. So I'm gonna click enter, and I'm gonna say yes in 3, 2, 1. Are you ready?
Yeah, just go.
Okay. Waiting. Okay, I think we're good.
Yeah, I'm in. We're all.
I'm in. Aditya, you in?
I'm in. Yeah.
Okay. All right, we did it because you just never know.
It doesn't ask you the follow-up question on mobile. So I hit the draft lobby when you did, and it just threw me right in there.
Nice. That's you're a complete sicko. You're drafting on your phone?
No, I don't really know. I draft on my phone most times, but now that I'm actually here, I'm gonna pull up the draft on my computer.
Okay.
On my other monitor. Okay, that's way better.
Gotcha. Yeah, if I had my druthers, that's what I do. But yeah,
I am a sicko though. I'll draft with one draft on my monitor and then the other draft on my phone. Just go back and forth.
Yeah, I try to do 2 puppies at once on live on air, and man, that if anybody wants to check that out, it's somewhere on my channel. It was hilarious. Like, I was laughing at myself because I panicked because I had a guy in the queue that actually wanted that I thought I didn't want, but I wanted. So I switched over to the other draft, and it was counting down, and I just had that moment of panic, and I took him out of the queue. I was like, I actually wanted that guy. And so anyway, good story, Seth.
Speaking of queue, always set your queues here. I got torched in a weekly winners lineup where I was putting pretty much all my chips in the Lions and the Cowboys for that one game, and then forgot to set a queue, managed to miss the notification that my time was almost up, and I got auto drafted Kirk Cousins.
Well, that might not be terrible with Detroit.
It could potentially work out. It's just not good that I can't use. Well, I just went for Jared Goff. I have 3 quarterbacks, but that's beside the point.
We have a fan of Aditya in here.
Yeah, I was just about to put that up.
Yeah. So he's Aditya is a stud, that's for sure.
Shout out to my fans, of course.
So 7 and 9 for Seth and Aditya. That's gonna be That's gonna be interesting.
Where are you at?
I'm at the 4 spot.
You're at
My
the 4
favorite.
spot. So we're separated.
All the good
about as-
dynasty assets are up towards the top of drafts. You got Cooper Kupp, Tyreek Hill.
Do you guys want to know something?
Of course.
Guess what I had to do last night because I drafted Garrett Wilson.
You have to watch Hard Knocks?
No, I had to get a stacking partner, which is Aaron Rodgers.
Ah,
I had to draft Aaron Rodgers in an actual draft, and it was not gonna lie, it was kind of painful. It was like if this is the pick that wins me Best Ball Mania, if the Garrett Wilson Rodgers stack with like I think it was Jerome Ford bring back, if this is what wins me Best Ball Mania I might have to quit fantasy football. I don't know.
Are we sure about Jerome Ford?
I don't know, man.
He's being drafted with a lot of certainty for a guy who hasn't been on the field at all this offseason due to injury. I'm a Demetric Felton stan and will be till the day I die. So I'm not convinced he doesn't compete for touches. I keep drafting Jerome Ford because given his current projected workload, he seems like a good value. But I'm nervous every time I hit the button.
Yeah, somebody I keep drafting in that similar range. I mean, he's basically goes undrafted a lot of times is Joshua Kelly. You know, like I know I drafted Eckler here, so I'm probably not going to take him in this draft. But I mean, you talk about like an established role with a team. You know, Joshua Kelly. I mean, we might not like the talent profile. We might think he's as vanilla as it gets, but he's gonna. If Eckler goes down, he's gonna have a big role, and he's being drafted in the 18th round right now. So
yeah, and the other guy they have is Isaiah Spiller, who wasn't all that great either. So it just feels like Kelly has a chance for more touches in an offense that'll probably be pretty good.
yeah, so that's been one of my targets. I think I've kind of moved him up because of that. Like you see Jerome Ford falling quite a bit. Like I think I got him in the 17th round. So I think last night. So I'm like buying the dip, I guess. Aditya. Wow, what a start here.
That's
Buffalo.
a combo. That is a combo.
That is a nice. Oh, and I'm on the clock here, so I might as well figure out what I want to do. Let's see.
Chris Olave is like truly primed for potentially one of the greatest sophomore seasons that anyone's ever accomplished. And
true, but I'm gonna pass on him though.
Damn, that did not work.
Yeah, I thought about it. I thought, I thought about getting unique maybe with Mahomes, but I don't know. Like I don't really love. In these drafts, I don't really love going outside of ADP too much in the early rounds. Like I'll reach a little bit and like past round 9 or 10. You know,
who's this? I have a feeling I know who this J is. That how Jonathan spells his last name without the R? Is that John?
Yeah, is that
Jonathan?
Is it Jonathan? Maybe I don't. Jonathan,
I'm gonna say
let
it
us know
is,
if you're.
I'm not gonna talk to him about it, and I'm just gonna pretend that it is.
I think Jonathan's hopped in the chat or hopped in the draft with us, but we could be wrong. I did a draft with Jonathan on my channel, and I did a draft with Aditya on my. I mean, sharp people, man. I mean, the draft we did with Jonathan was a Best Ball Mania, and we got Mahomes Kelsey stack, and then we did some different stuff. Towards the end, it was kind of cool.
Need to sign up on that sheet. I keep trying to access it on my phone, and it makes me go to the Sheets app, but then it takes me to the App Store, and then when I hit open, it doesn't open the file, so I can't. It's a frustrating process.
Wow, man, I didn't know Google. I didn't know Google Sheets did this to you, Matt.
It doesn't have a great mobile interface. Google, if you're out there listening to me, hire me. I can help fix that.
Oh wow!
Not myself, but I can put the requirements together. I can't actually do that code that's required for that.
So, Aditya, you took Stephon Diggs and Amon-Ra St. Brown And I've noticed this trend. I feel like people have been listening to me because I've been saying forever now that Amon-Ra St. Brown should be drafted ahead of Garrett Wilson. In this draft, you had the choice of Amon-Ra St. Brown versus Garrett Wilson. I also think it's an interesting dynasty question too. And now you're seeing him being drafted ahead of him in redraft. So why don't you talk about your decision to take St. Brown over Wilson? Because I agree with you. And now you're seeing him steamed into the first round of some of these high stakes drafts. Like I think Theo Greminger took him in one of his, I can't remember which draft it was, but I think they took him at the 108 in one of their drafts. I mean, so why don't you talk about that decision?
Yeah, he's a guy. He's gonna see a lot of volume off the bat in the Detroit offense. I think Garrett Wilson, comparatively, he's for dynasty purposes, he's gonna get Aaron Rodgers for at least a year, probably 2 years. But down the line, I'm not too sure about who's QB is gonna be. But talent-wise, Wilson and St. Brown are both guys at the top of the dynasty order that you're targeting. But St. Brown's a guy who's been producing with Jared Goff at quarterback. And I think if Detroit ever makes a change in that quarterback room, it's going to be for a better guy than Jared Goff, not someone who's just an average quarterback. So for dynasty purposes, for sure. And then for redraft, it's a little bit tougher, of course, with Garrett Wilson. The Jets are expected to contend for a playoff spot, but the Lions too, in the NFC North, the defenses aren't looking all that great in that division. So that's a little bit of why I think St. Brown's going to get a lot of volume.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think he's a better dynasty asset than Garrett Wilson, personally, because, you know, we have this idea that Garrett Wilson's, he's really young. And I mean, Amon-Ra St. Brown is really young too. I mean, I think Garrett Wilson's a half a year younger than St. Brown. And St. Brown is just, I know he doesn't have the draft capital Garrett Wilson does. I get it. But at a certain point, how much time has to elapse before we go, okay, this guy's just a really good player? I mean, Stephon Diggs, I believe, was a 5th round player, you know, like, so Amon-Ra St. Brown is just that guy. I think that's going to be demanding targets in this Detroit offense. And Jared Goff's a perfect quarterback for him. I know a lot of people roll their eyes at Jared Goff, but he's not going to run around. He's going to throw short to intermediate routes to Amon-Ra St. Brown over and over and over again. I mean, it's just a fantasy cheat code, kind of. Like I love Amon-Ra St. Brown. He's one of my favorite players to get in Dynasty if you can. It's going to probably pretty tough these days.
Yeah, and another thing too is Amon-Ra St. Brown last year got tackled inside the 5-yard line like 5 to 7 times, something like that, an absurd amount. So you would think, especially with the Lions, you know, success with those 1-yard runs, they kept getting 1 and 2 yard runs at the goal line. You think that's going to flip a little bit, and they're going to have some more passing red zone attempts. And with that's going to come a surplus of touchdowns. So I really think off of this surplus of targets this year for Amon-Ra, we're going to see a lot of touchdowns, and we're not sure what this Jets offense is going to be. And Aaron's, you know, I think more likely to kind of spread the ball around in those red zone situations. But I don't know, that's projecting a little bit.
Yeah, and Corey Davis just retired today, so
yeah.
It seems like from a volume perspective, maybe that's an uptick for Garrett Wilson. But if Corey Davis is retiring, that kind of means he wasn't already going to get much of a role in that offense anyway. Exactly. So it's going to be Garrett Wilson, Breece Hall when he's healthy, Dalvin Cook will see targets, and then you'll probably see Allen Lazard and Randall Cobb get some targets too.
Oh, damn. So this was going to be a conundrum if Joe Mixon made it back to me, because Joe Mixon, if you keep up with PlayerProfiler articles, you know that he is my league winner candidate for his ADP. But I did watch Hard Knocks last night, and I talked about this player this morning. I've been drafting him all off season. I've been drafting him after Dalvin Cook, and I'm not going to stop drafting Breece Hall. This dude is a purebred, a thoroughbred. I mean, they truly rarely make them like Breece Hall. he is closer to the Saquon and Jonathan Taylor category in terms of archetype than he is really to anyone else. And I just love what he's going to do on this offense this year, especially in best ball, when I don't have to worry about, starting him week to week. There might be a few down weeks. Dalvin gets steals a touchdown or two, but he's going to be up there every week. He hit 21 miles per hour on a slant, Seth, in Aditya. He's so back.
Yeah, no, I love Brees. I mean, I just for the build sake, I didn't love taking Drake London there, but just for the build, I did. And in best ball, it's kind of doing more of a portfolio thing, so I don't have much Drake London, so I thought I'd tap him there. But yeah, Brees Hall was definitely a consideration for me, and I think him dipping to the 4th round because of Dalvin Cook. Let's face it, guys, Dalvin Cook isn't the picture perfect image of health either. I mean, especially in some of these weekly winners drafts where Brees Hall's his ADP is about the same, and I think his weekly upside should push him up the ADP board.
I'm on the clock.
In those, Matt Babbage is on the clock. So Brees Hall in the 4th round feels cheap, especially considering it's the later weeks that ultimately win this tournament if your team's good. Jonathan Taylor feels cheap too, although that's a situation that's been talked about enough. We do have this senior football in the chat, and I'm going to have to go draft here. So I'm going to be on the clock.
I'll take the question. So okay. I don't understand it. Do the players not know who the people are when they're submitted? Like, is it like a gotcha moment? Like Seth drafts Brandon Ayuk, and then you're like, take a shot. Because it seems like a good candidate would be anybody who would get drafted, particularly somebody you would want to take a shot. So, if I wanted Seth to take a shot, I'd probably nominate like DJ Moore or somebody I know that Seth is probably gonna
David
Montgomery for sure.
Yeah. Like in this draft, I would probably David Montgomery's on my radar as my RB2 for sure. I mean, he always is. He says correct. The commissioner knows who gets submitted. So I think that's a fun deal. I remember one year in our, if you're into the drinking, that is. If you're not, you maybe
the drinking,
the drinking and the drugs and the alcohol, as the kids say. So the one year in a league that I was in, actually the first year I was in this league, and the only time they've ever done this is they had 12 shot glasses, and one of them was filled with vodka, and the person who got the vodka got the number 1 overall pick. So anyway, there's all sorts of stuff all sorts of things out there like that. You could play, they have like, you can have drinking game Olympics, all this stuff.
Do Dameon Pierce, because that person clearly needs a shot.
Dameon Pierce. What's wrong with it's a little early, isn't it? But I like Dameon Pierce.
Why?
I think he's good at football. I think, and I don't know how good Devin Singletary is. I think if
good enough to be the starter in Buffalo for multiple seasons, producing at the same level or higher than Dameon Pierce.
That's just because they didn't care
about running back. He's also one
of
the highest graded pass blockers on a team that's going to be down the entire season.
Mm-hmm.
Pierce get taken?
I want to talk about he did. I want to talk about how I didn't take Jackson Smith and Jigba and how that was probably a mistake. What was the value of taking McLaurin there? It was just purely based off of ADP.
Yeah, I've found that JSN, he's dropping in some of these drafts because of his wrist injury, but
which is ridiculous.
In best ball anyways, you're going for some of those spike weeks. So even if he doesn't produce in those first 3-4 weeks, then I can still get some of those spike weeks later. And I drafted Diggs, St. Brown, and Jerry Jeudy at wide receiver. So it's a position where I can afford to take some of those receivers that have some risk baked into them.
Yeah, I don't understand why JSN is falling at all. I mean, to be honest with you, I mean, he might miss a couple weeks, and especially in a tournament format like this, scoop up the half round discount that you're getting because he was going in the late 5th. I mean, he was being steamed up ahead of Tyler Lockett, which I don't really pick your poison. I mean, whatever Seattle wide receiver you like in that 5th, 6th round, I think both of them are going to be pretty good this year because that Seattle offense is going to be good. I feel the same way about Pittsburgh. If you like Pickens, if you like Deontay Johnson, I like them both. So I've been drafting both.
So speaking of Pickett,
Mhm.
Ahan Runkta went on Jahan Dotson. See, I made another mistake that I'm just my head is not on my shoulders today. I don't think because I clearly should have taken Dotson. If I already went McLaurin, I should have just said screw it, let's run with a house stack. But yeah, I'm not a very good drafter today apparently. So why not just lean into it?
Oh my God.
I might as well just lean into it, just throw the just we're either going to finish first or we're going to finish last.
All right. I'm trying to, oh my God. Okay. I finally got this stack, guys. It's been so hard to get.
Oh, damn.
Me.
Yeah, that's good.
I feel good now. Anyway, so I was kind of on pins and needles there. I've been able to stack Lamar with a couple, like, I got the J.K. Dobbins thing going on, and with the bring back that Miami, Baltimore matchup in Week 17. But I've got Bateman, like, I'm like collecting these stacks, and I finally got that one. So right at ADP too. I didn't have to. I guess
I'm just gonna rock with like literally zero correlation on this team and just like
hey man. I mean,
just fully fade correlation and just go that graph that's like draft good players and then like correlate Week 17 home games or something and then like just draft good players. So we're gonna live on the tails there.
There you go. No, that's it's
always the drafts that are on air.
You definitely shouldn't force the stacks or the correlation. I mean, I thought about taking them at pick 66, but I mean, that would have been over a round of a reach. And that's just a cardinal rule for me that I try not to do in these best ball tournaments. But, I think there's something to that. Some drafts is going to be harder based on your position and based on how the draft board's going to get the stacks, to get the correlation that you're looking for. So I think you just got to do the best you can without reaching in the early round. So it's a delicate dance that we have to dance, Matt Babbage, in these tournaments.
Is. I hate the first half of the draft. I truly hate it. You're generally finding yourself like, okay, I either have to reach like a half a round or I have to just take the value that's on the table. And like clearly what I've done is just take the value that's on the table. And so let's see. I guess we'll just see how we turn this ship around.
Yeah, I think let's look at your team. So we got Tyreek, Olave. I mean, I think it's a good team. I think you can still.
I just definitely should have went Dotson over Godwin at that point. Like I needed to invest in a team. And so like maybe Antonio Gibson on the way back. And lean into Washington that way.
Yeah, for some of these drafts, like I just pick 9 in this one. I've been finding every time I get to the turn, a lot of the players just get picked before my next selection that I've queued up. So I haven't been doing a whole lot of the correlation too much either in this draft, but it definitely gets tough in some of these tournament type drafts where it's you got your correlation gone, you have your stack that's just off the board, and then you got to pivot. But sometimes you get players that fall from their ADPs that you're happy to get.
Yeah,
I've been going very uncorrelated at the tight end spot. Honestly, it's been like I get to the point like this point in the draft, right, where if you don't have the quarterback of this tight end, you probably don't have the quarterback of if you don't have your quarterback tight end stacked by now, you're probably not getting it unless you're getting Pat Freiermuth and Kenny Pickett or like Higbee and Stafford. But you have to be kind of set up with Cup or other pieces if you're gonna make those moves. And so it's just generally I find myself not being able to naturally correlate my tight end into these lineups as often.
What do you guys think? What do you guys make of the Khalil Herbert being steamed up? Because I know how
I got one share before his ADP took a huge rise and was like, okay, that's it.
Yeah. I think he's a guy who'll give you spike weeks for like the first quarter, first half of the season, but I think as the season goes on, he won't as much.
Yeah, I still stand by my statement I made a month ago, 2 months ago on it went kind of crazy on social media about Roschon. I still think Roschon's the guy in the long term. I said week 6, and I'm still not buying the preseason hype of us catching a screen pass and going for a touchdown. I still think
Roschon would have housed that screen pass. I mean, it wasn't Herbert. Like he was good, right? But all Herbert had to do was catch the ball, hit the hole, and there was no one in sight. So it was a really good play that just kind of happened to shake out better for him than most.
Yeah, the Bears are probably going to use what's familiar, at least at first. So, but I do think the Bears are going to be a little bit more pass happy. And if they are more pass happy, then they are probably going to lean into Roschon's usage is going to be better if the Bears are a little bit more pass happy. Like, because he's just better in pass protection. He's better at catching the ball.
Yeah, the real highlight was Justin Fields getting hit on Herbert's first snap in pass pro. That was the real highlight because that's what's going to matter.
Yeah, so I think all those factors lead to a logical conclusion that, I'll stick with week 6 just for prediction's sake because I said it a few months ago. But I do think now's the time to go get Roschon Johnson in Dynasty because you're seeing all this buzz of Khalil Herbert, and Khalil Herbert's the hot name. And whenever you see situations like this in Dynasty, it's better to pivot to a logical, conclusion that you can come up with that, based on film study, based on looking at the metrics, Roschon's just a better player. They have more invested in him. I could go on and on, it's just, and Roschon's being valued super low. I think this is where the redraft streets and the dynasty streets meet or collide. I was kind of hoping Brian Robinson as pukey as it is, I was kind of hoping he got back to me, but just because you're seeing Roschon's value just completely tank right now, in redraft. And I think in dynasty too, it's very similar situation.
Yeah, you do have somewhat of a buy window on Roschon unless you're in leagues with me. Otherwise, so in that case, he's on my team and you do not have a window. But I think about like 75% Roschon or something like that. It's pretty insane. I remember the Podfather came on and was talking about kind of portfolio management across dynasty leagues, and he's like, that's a bunch of malarkey. He's like, I draft Evan Hull in one league, I draft Evan Hull in every league, and that's how I was with Roschon this year. I just needed as many teams with him as possible for my peace of mind.
Well, that's where it gets a little crazy with portfolio management, because when you're drafting, like Roschon was going in the 3rd round, players like Jaden Reed, Marvin Mims were going in the 3rd round. My guy, Michael Wilson, was going in the 4th round. So I have no problem when the investment's that low of having 60% exposure to Roschon Johnson. Like, if anything, I'll take him every time because it doesn't cost me much. And if I'm right, then I can start, once the value goes up, then we can start to talk about portfolio diversification. Then I can trade a share here or there if I want to. But when the investment's that low, oh yeah, I'll take all the Roschon, all the Michael Wilson. When the investment's really high, like when you're talking about 1st round pick, like if you Quentin Johnston every single time, then that's probably a mistake. But when the investment's so low, then I completely agree. Like, portfolio management is a bit overrated.
Speaking of mistakes, I forgot that I went McLaurin Gibson and then took Chino. Forgot about that whole thing where I was like, oh, I could have played up the stack with Howell, and then I got Gibson, and then just, forgot I said any of that. And now I don't hate the two single stacks with Tyreek and DK Metcalf. It's not my favorite strategy in the world, but we can run with it. 13 seconds left. I have no idea where I'm going. I'm not taking the rookie who's already hurt. Oh gosh.
Zay Jones, baby.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was a struggle between him and Jacoby Myers at that pick. I was going to go receiver no matter what.
You'll get some spike weeks out of Zay Jones for sure.
I'll get some spike weeks, yeah, for sure. And I think that's probably what's more beneficial for this team. Jacoby Myers is a guy who we've seen, relatively low ceiling, but high floor when he's out there, very consistent with his target share. So that's, I don't necessarily need a consistent 15-week producer. That's generally something you do if you have like 3 good receivers, but I'm rolling 5 deep. So just went for some spike weeks, and now probably won't touch receiver until rounds like 16.
Yeah, so Aditya, you get the stack with Amon-Ra. That's pretty nice.
I have Gibbs too, so I think Gibbs is going to get a lot of passing volume. So that's why got Goff, Gibbs, and St. Brown there.
I think that Montgomery and Gibbs are going to be on the field a lot at the same time, because this is why I'm so high on Montgomery. Is I don't think Gibbs is quite ready to do everything the Lions need him to do, but he's a super talent, especially at pass catching. And you look at their wide receivers, especially with Jamison Williams being suspended, it's like Marvin Jones, Khalif Raymond. So I think they're going to use him a lot as a receiver. And if that's the case, him being steamed up to the 3rd round makes a lot of sense. And you got him a little bit later than I've seen him going. I've seen him go in the mid to early 3rd round. I think his ADP is right around 30 or 31 right now. So yeah, that would be middle of the 3rd. So I think that's a solid pick.
Dead air. This is bad radio. All right. So Seth is on the clock. Let's walk us through your process here.
Well, I need a tight end. I like Higbee a lot. I think that's the direction I'm going to go. I also have the opportunity to potentially stack him. I think Stafford's still on the board, so I could do that. And then I believe they play the Giants in week 17. So I could get some easy correlation with having nothing set up. So not to walk everybody through my whole thought process, but that's kind of how I think about these best ball tournaments, because I do think the week 17 correlation is important. And it gives me another stacking option too for my second quarterback, and to give me a stacking option, with a quarterback that's going really late in Stafford, that probably is getting overlooked because the offensive line's not going to be very good at all. It's really exciting. We have a new offensive line analyst at PlayerProfiler named Dan Fornick, and I have to get his article edited, but we'll get that out this week. And he talks about his offensive line rankings, which is something you should really be aware of when you're drafting, especially drafting running back. So be on the lookout for that. But I can tell you right now, I don't think the Rams are going to be very high on his list, because that's just an offensive line that's deteriorated since Matthew Stafford's been there. And you know what? They got a Super Bowl. So, good on them. They did it. F them picks worked for a little while, but now you're seeing what F them picks can really ends up. It's just, you go all in, and then it's kind of like your dynasty teams. When you say F them picks for too long, pretty soon you're looking at a roster full of dusty veterans, and you don't really have too many assets that people care about. Unfortunately.
I traded in 2019, I traded my 2023 first for Mike Evans.
Oh no.
That 2023 first turned out to be the 101.
Oh man.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was sick. It was maybe 2 months after my first Dynasty startup draft ever, and I had absolutely no idea what I was doing. I took the 101, 102 in that league. Went N'Keal Harry, David Montgomery.
Oh wow, N'Keal Harry. That was in the N'Keal Harry year.
Yeah,
Wow.
that was
Okay.
That's how little we knew about Dynasty at the time.
Yeah, everybody's got their first league story. It's kind of like your first apartment story. Like everybody's first apartment, unless you're well off, is kind of a shithole. I know mine was. So everybody's got that story. Everybody's got that experience. I think my first Dynasty team, it's the league's no longer in existence, but it was very similar to what you're talking about. I was taking Alshon Jeffrey during his he had a good year with the Eagles, I think, and then he was just dusty as all get out, and I took him way too high. So I feel your pain.
I saw Matt just took Roshan Johnson after taking Sam Laporta, so my key was absolutely obliterated after that.
Bang, 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 bang. Uncorrelation. We're just throwing them in there.
You know what I don't understand about some of these best ball teams is I'm thinking you can have this great plan in your head of what you should do, and you're like, oh yeah, he's gonna fall for sure. And then somebody takes I don't know, Brock Purdy 4 rounds ahead of ADP, and you're like, and then you look at their team and you go, wait a minute, they don't have any San Francisco 49ers. It makes absolutely no sense for them to take Brock Purdy 4 rounds ahead of ADP.
And I am that guy, pal.
You're that guy. Oh my god.
And I've yelled at that guy before. But the thing is, I'm not taking people 2 rounds before ADP. That's the one thing. I saw a guy take Kenny Pickett with no Pittsburgh Steelers over Jared Goff as his QB3. 2 rounds at 2 rounds ahead of ADP. So that's a situation where you're like, yeah, I mean, you are just you're trolling. You're trolling. Yeah, you're in a draft with a friend and you're trying to make your team so bad that theirs is really good. That's all it can be.
Or, it's their own, they're doing 1 or 2 best ball manias and they just want their favorite players. I've seen it, I've seen it happen before. I mean, I don't know. It's hard to explain, but it's just hilarious whenever you see it because it just takes this perfectly constructed plan and it just throws it in the dumpster, but that's why you try to, when you're drafting, you try to give yourself multiple different options just in case that happens.
Mm-hmm.
We have a good first Dynasty draft story in the chat. Drafted Devonta Freeman over McCaffrey in his first startup.
That's my buddy Dane. Dane and I are in several leagues together, so shout out to Dane. He's a really good Dynasty player. I remember him and a buddy co-owned a team, and it was the year, I think it was 2017, where all those good rookie running backs were there, and they had a whole argument about Samaje Perine versus Joe Mixon. And he wanted Joe Mixon, but it was the other guy's turn to make the executive decision. And so they took Samaje Perine over Joe Mixon. I mean, that's what these decisions come down to sometimes. And it's funny to look back on some of those decisions. So I'm on the clock here, and I am very, very exposed to Brock Purdy. I love Brock Purdy this year, not just because he went to Iowa. But I think I'm going to go Stafford just because I have some bring back options with the Giants later on, potentially. So just for correlation's sake and to diversify a little bit, and it's not really reaching too much.
The problem with Stafford is that, man, if he gets beat up, if they're bad, it's just tough to see him toughen it out like he usually does for this team.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Nothing that I would probably. I've been drafting him at ADP, so I'm not saying it would get in the way of, but I think it's already baked into his cost.
Yeah, I had 3 options there. I could have gone Purdy because I have Ayuk, but I don't really other than Curtis Samuel, there's really nobody to bring back. And I have a ton of Brock Purdy already.
Oh, I can't believe you took Jeff Wilson. Oh, that is a knife in my heart. Wow.
It's payback.
Wow. Oh my gosh. I passed on A-Chain. I passed on Mostert. I almost took Wilson in like a round ahead of ADP just to secure it. Wow. I've never seen him go ahead of ADP in a draft ever.
It's like 3 spots ahead of ADP too.
And I've gotten him 10, 12 picks below ADP at times. No one really wants Jeff Wilson. I think maybe the Dalvin Cook signing has eased some concerns there a little bit, but Wilson
also just got such a boring name. Jeff
He was
Wilson.
The touch leader. He has a horrible athletic profile too, and Mostert's is, all the charts go way up, and Jeff Wilson's speed scores like this. But he was the snap leader. He was the opportunity leader. He was the touch leader. He was the backfield leader in Miami, and he's being drafted at the end of drafts. And A-Chain, and Mostert are the most similar. If there's going to be a role that's absolved, it's probably going to be Mostert's. And I think Jeff Wilson's one of the biggest values in fantasy football right now.
Mike McDaniel's going to use him.
Absolutely, he is.
So you think, oh man. So out of all 3 of those Miami running backs, I know that 2 are older. So would you guys take Mostert at his ADP over where did I get A-Chain? A-Chain at pick 127 because of the shoulder. I've been getting more A-Chain lately. Isaiah Hodgins, darn.
Yeah, it's just more he's being drafted really high for the level of uncertainty in his role. He's still RB3 on the depth chart, and it's not like we've seen too much that would indicate that that's going to steam up anytime soon, with first team snaps during preseason games or during practices. And he's still not, now he's hurt, so he's not getting first team reps, which are important. So it's hard to see them going into the year with A-Chain as their starter. And he's got to pay off some pretty significant value at cost. And if you're already starting with weeks where he's going to be the RB2 or RB3, and you don't know when that's going to happen, that starter role, his ADP should be closer to Roschon Johnson then.
Okay. Yeah, I'm honestly taking the 3rd running back out of whoever's still on the board out of those 3. I feel like that's the safest strategy to use for some of these.
Yeah. I do think in this format, A-Chain, I'm more into A-Chain in best ball. I know it's a cliche at this point, but in Dynasty, very skeptical long term because you're just never going to know when to start him. I feel like this Miami backfield is one that I'm probably avoiding in a managed league just because I feel like one week it's going to be Mostert, another week it could be Wilson. I don't know if there's going to be any particular running back that is going to take a hold of this backfield. I definitely wouldn't put my money on A-Chain right away. But yeah, that's interesting that you both are Jeff Wilson stands. And I think I'd be on more team Mostert, but
he was one of the more effective running backs in the league last year. And I mean, funnily enough, you look at his profile and his advanced metrics in comparison to Mostert's, they're eerily similar, close to the same. But like in terms of rushing yards over expectation and true yards per carry, juke rate, breakaway run rate is where Mostert beats out Wilson a little bit. But when we look at the actual stats, like after Wilson gets traded, he was the goal line back. He was the preferred pass catching target, and he seemed to have the starter role. Despite I think Mostert was listed as the starter like all of last season, but Wilson had more snaps and more touches, so it's just interesting to see where it goes. I think they have. Yeah, they're in a scheme that's going to benefit them no matter what. So if I'll just take my bet on whoever I think is going to get the most touches at the best value, and right now that's Jeff Wilson.
I mean I don't hate it to be for sure. I mean I'm just taking off. Like, I'm just trying to get an equal mix of all of them in these tournaments because I don't know. I don't have a good answer for you. That's a better answer than what I would have. So I'll have to up my Jeff Wilson exposure, I guess.
That you do.
Mm-hmm. Jeff Wilson. He's out of all three of those names: Jeff Wilson, Raheem Mostert, and Devon Achane. I mean, which one of these names doesn't fit with the others? You know, his name is just so boring. But anyway, not that matters.
It does. I mean, it does. Like, I really think you're getting a little bit like Jeff Wilson, Raheem Mostert, Devon H. Jeff Wilson. Jeff Wilson.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it is boring.
He sounds like your real estate agent or the guy who sells you insurance is Jeff Wilson. You know, Raheem Mostert is like your workout instructor. Not that that's a real, exciting profession. I don't know. Raheem Mostert could be a Hollywood actor, maybe. Raheem Mostert.
A-Chain, meanwhile, just sounds like a name that you want to draft for your teams, just for the vibes. You can craft like a really good team name out of having A-Chain.
Yeah. Colin Cowherd had this whole theory. I think he made up a term called quarterbackial, and it was the idea that the guy that you want to give the ball, it's human nature. You want to give the ball to the best looking guy. So that was his theory, that why all the quarterbacks were good looking dudes. And then Patrick Mahomes came around and just totally destroyed his entire theory. I'm just kidding. Patrick Mahomes is, but it's like the Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, anyway, it's very similar with,
I think it's a popularity thing.
Football.
Like the more popular kids in high school are the ones that are more driven to be a quarterback. It's like it comes with a Letterman jacket type of deal.
That's like jaw, the chin,
the jawline chiseled. Yeah. It's like the Alan Seslowsky build.
Oh no, the Alan Seslowsky build. Except his is with private parts. Like his is with
bicycle seats.
Yeah, we won't talk about that, but man, so I'm gonna have a choice to make here. Jerome Ford is dropping like a rock, and so is Gus. What do you guys think of Ty Chandler? Do you think Ty Chandler's worth drafting? No, we had high hopes for him.
I think he might give you a spike week or two, but I'm still holding out hope that Minnesota adds another running back to that room, because otherwise I just don't think the team has a whole lot of rushing upside. Madison's not efficient. Doesn't look like any of the other running backs are separating themselves from the group. So it's Ty Chandler might see some volume, but if I'm drafting him, I'm kind of like grossed out by it.
If it's just the two of them being Ty Chandler and Dwayne McBride, I'm not so sure that Dwayne McBride doesn't push for touches quickly. Ty Chandler carrying the starting snaps in their first preseason game, and in most of their preseason game snaps that I've seen from him. In fact, he just looks like he doesn't have a ton of juice. He's kind of slow hitting his gaps. He was hit behind the line of scrimmage a lot, and in those situations, he generally doesn't make anyone miss. He just seems like a guy, like a plotter. Trying to think like not even a Ernest Johnson. I can't come up with a comp on the top of my head, but he's just, he doesn't really look good so far.
Gotcha. Yeah. I was stashing him in Dynasty, but I don't know. We'll see. I'll probably hold on to him in Dynasty, but in some of these, I think you're going to see him go undrafted pretty soon. Like I really wonder if he gets drafted in this draft. Probably. I mean, he's still getting drafted in the 18th round. Heck, I might be tempted to take him.
I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't get drafted. Yeah, except I'm going to draft him.
I'll press the button on him. Yeah. I don't know. I think even the uncertainty of Fournette might be more intriguing at this point, or I could just, the run and hide pick would be my guy Joshua Kelly. I'm throwing in the queue right now, so I guess Aditya is coming up, so he might take Josh Kelly from me, but that's okay.
Yeah, for my pick, I'm really debating taking a quarterback because I have Daniel Jones and Jared Goff. So none of them are like elite quarterbacks, but they're both stacked with some of the players that I have. But none of the quarterbacks going late here really seem like guys that can help out in that arena as well. So I think I'm gonna have to add to my QB room either way. So I'm gonna take a flyer on a rookie, CJ Stroud.
Okay. That's a
I
good. I like that. I like where he goes a lot more than where Bryce Young goes. That's for sure.
Yeah, I think he's got the potential. Houston's not going to be a good team or good offense. He got killed behind that offensive line, but late in the season, there's a chance that they get it together, and he gives you some good weeks where it's to play from behind. Maybe that scrambling turns into some of that rushing production too.
Oh, I just realized I handcuffed Eckler, which is a no-no. Whoops. I was so eager to take Josh Kelly that I made a mistake. You should not do that, I don't think. But, I mean, I don't know. Either way, I've got the Chargers running back.
I saw an article that said you were missing out on production if you didn't do it.
Really?
I didn't read it. It sounded like a bunch of hooey, but it's out there.
Did you write that? Or no?
No, I'm being serious. Like I just saw an article
Okay.
and then like I meant to read it and I was like, I don't know about that. And then I just kind of forgot to read it. But it was the first time I had seen someone present the argument of like, hey, you should be targeting like 2 running backs in the same backfield.
I wonder if
I would like to see the data on it. I need to go back and find that article, but based on principle, I'm skeptical.
Yeah, I guess if you're gonna do it, like the best way to do it is with the 18th round pick. So it would be an obvious mistake, I think, to draft Aaron Jones and then AJ Dillon. I think that would limit your upside greatly. But if I guess Joshua Kelly is not going to produce for me unless Austin Eckler is off the field. But I do think I got some good running backs. So I think this team has a chance, even though I, in my opinion, handicapped myself a little bit with Josh Kelly, but it's not like my 18th round pick had a great chance of helping my team, and I needed a running back there. So
yeah, I think taking 2 running backs maybe pays off more after like the 10th round. Like say you take Deion Jackson and Evan Hull, that might be a better investment than like an actual handcuff. But
yeah, it's like 2 shots at the Indianapolis backfield if Jonathan Taylor doesn't play. Wouldn't be a terrible idea late, like really late. Like Deion Jackson went in the 17th round here, and Evan Hull I don't think was drafted.
Yeah.
So. All right, I think that's a wrap. Do you guys want to? I can bring up your teams. There's here.
You don't have to.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
We'll talk about your team first then. Matt, do you want to briefly recap your team? I mean, great pick with David Montgomery, but
yeah. So I'm not good at talking and drafting at the same time. So we went with a very uncorrelated lineup. We have single stacks with Geno and DK Metcalf, Tua, and Tyreek Hill, and then did follow that up with Noah Fant at the end to get a triple stack with Seattle. RB rooms are all pretty uncorrelated with Breece Hall, Montgomery, Antonio Gibson, Roschon, and Tyjae Spears, getting 3 backs who I think have a solidified role, and then 2 with a lot of upside to just roll with a 5 RB room. Went receiver early and often, Tyreek, Chris Olave, DK, Terry McLaurin, Chris Godwin, hoping for essentially 3 of those to be in the top 12 every single week, or else this lineup is definitely going nowhere. Zay Jones, Rashid Shaheed. There we go. And Deontay Hardy to kind of throw some darts later in the rounds. And then a hodgepodge of tight ends with Sam Laporta, Dawson Knox, and Noah Fant.
I like the Sam Laporta. I really like Sam Laporta this year. I know rookie tight ends don't typically produce, and I don't really have much evidence saying that they're going to produce this year other than Sam Laporta is a really good football player. So is Michael Mayer. I took Michael Mayer because I think there's a reality where Devontae Adams doesn't finish the season with the Raiders. Maybe he gets traded. I mean, that would make sense for them to do if they're not going to be good. But we'll see. I do like Laporta. Talk to me about Deontay Hardy. Why Hardy over some other options like Michael Wilson or Richie James?
I'm glad you asked about Michael Wilson. Jacob Sanderson. I'm going to steal Jacob Sanderson's thunder a little bit, but he resonated my thoughts on the situation. You can sum up fantasy Twitter with the tweet of Michael Wilson with rocket ship emojis, posting a chart that has him running 14 routes or 14 snaps, 8 routes, 0 targets. Like he's just running around with the first team doing wind sprints, and people are hyping him up. Like it just doesn't look like he has. And he might be a starter, but is he going to be a target earner? We're probably going to see a really consolidated target share between Marquise Brown, Rondale Moore, and then whoever's playing tight end. That's probably going to be a close to a 50 to or a little bit more percent target share. And then you're going to get James Conner, who's probably going to have a 12% target share. So between Brown, Rondale Moore, Dortch, Ertz/McBride, and James Conner, that's probably going to take up about 65 to 70% of the targets. And I'm not – Deontay Hardy is a guy who, is a role player that has – he's a reason. There's a reason that teams like him. He was drafted to the Saints. The Saints really liked him. He shined when he had opportunities, very efficient. He plays the role that they kind of need in Buffalo's offense. Somebody who can keep the defense honest, make them play back. Gabe Davis is their deep threat right now, and he's not very good at that. He's not keeping defenses honest. Defense is honest. And Deontay Hardy does the little things right. He grinds. He's a culture guy. He's going to thrive. He's already thriving. We've seen, camp highlights. I know they're camp highlights, but this team doesn't have a true receiver too. And there's a lot of opportunity. So with his profile, with the level of opportunity he could get on a week-to-week basis, we saw Khalil Shakir, like his first reception ever was like a 50-yard deep ball from Allen. If that's the role that Hardy is inserting himself into, that could be very valuable in best ball, especially, and it's worth an 18th round shot every once in a while.
All right. Well, you sold. I mean, I might have to get some more Deontay Hardy just taking darts.
Go talk to a Han Rungta if you need any more. He's the captain of the boat.
All right. Aditya, do you want to walk me through your team?
Yeah, so quarterback room, Daniel Jones. I ended up taking Darren Waller, so I had to take Daniel Jones there. Got both of them. I feel like that's a popular stack to take, especially with Jones's rushing upside will make him relevant on a lot of fantasy weeks. Jared Goff, CJ Stroud's more of a shot in the dark, but Jared Goff he's got, I think, a high enough floor to where he'll produce, and with some spike weeks with Amon-Ra St. Brown and Jahmyr Gibbs also in my lineup. And then the running backs, I took Gibbs and Connor, who I think will be the two running backs that probably produce the most for the team. Brian Robinson, I've been finding his ADP's fallen a little bit. I keep getting him several picks after ADP with Antonio Gibson getting a lot of steam as the pass catcher. But Brian Robinson, I think, had 4 receptions on Monday, so he's not completely out of getting receptions from Sam Howell. So I think that backfield share will be split pretty evenly to where I feel comfortable taking Robinson there. Then these other guys, Jerick McKinnon, Kenny Gainwell, I think have pass catching upside in really good offenses. Then Jeff Wilson, we already discussed, out of the Miami backfield, potential there. Receiver Diggs and St. Brown, both guys who will see a lot of volume as the number ones in their offenses without a clear number two. Jerry Jeudy with Sean Payton and Russell Wilson in year two, he'll see a lot of volume. Whether or not that'll be good volume remains to be seen, but definitely a guy that he has a lot of potential to get back up on that horse. JSN, we talked about as well. Injuries kind of hit his ADP. Donovan Peoples-Jones. I think a lot of people are caught up with Cedric Tillman's camp and preseason, but a lot of the routes and touches that Cedric Tillman is seeing is what Peoples-Jones is going to see in the regular season. So I think he'll have a good year. It's a contract year for Peoples-Jones as well. So I think they'll use him this year. Maybe they re-sign him, maybe they don't, but Tillman is more of a post-DPJ kind of guy. And then Renfro, another late round shot who in Las Vegas's offense, I think could see volume and a high volume passing offense, which I think it will be. And then Goddard was a guy I didn't really want to take, but he was going 10 picks after ADP compared to the receivers and running backs that were on the board at the time. I thought Goddard was a better pick than what I could have gotten. With Waller there, Goddard probably won't produce at that tight end slot, but maybe the flex slot. You have the Giants, Eagles play each other twice a season too, and then Hunter Henry, another guy out of New England. I think instead of Mike Gesicki, it's going to be Hunter Henry that gets those tight end touches more often than not. But overall, I have some correlation in terms of stacks, in terms of week 17 or teams that play each other not as much. But it's a build that I find myself targeting a lot, mostly because of Daniel Jones and Darren Waller, and then also St. Brown and Jared Goff, and then the rest of the roster just kind of filled itself out from there.
Yeah, I find this New England tight end situation interesting because I'm trying to get an equal amount of Henry and Gesicki, but Gesicki's was officially on my must draft list because he's going so late. Like he's a lot of times he's going in the 18th round, but I think it's a good idea to get Henry too. I think I really like a lot of these players you took. You got a lot of these players after ADP too. I mean, you took the stacks that you needed to, but I mean, getting McKinnon after ADP, Gainwell after ADP, which I guess the Gainwell enthusiasm is waning a little bit. I think the market's kind of resetting, and the Swift believers are popping their heads out of they're emerging from the. I don't even know what I'm trying to say, but you get the point. The Swift stands are strong. They're coming on
the
strong
Swifties?
now. The Swifties, the Swifties. Maddie Kiwoom and the Swifties are coming.
There should be a new SEO tactic, just putting hashtag Swiftie in our show.
There's so many angry Taylor Swift fans in the comments.
It might affect our like to dislike ratio. But...
That's what I was thinking. We probably get a lot of dislikes, like some 13-year-old girl going, "What? Swift, DeAndre Swift? I don't even know who this is." And I probably have 1% chance of that happening, but I do like a lot of what you did here at ETM with your team. I'm going to briefly cover my team here. I went Lamar, so I felt like my team's going to do well if Lamar Jackson does well. There's no getting around it. I invested very highly in quarterback with this build. So I took late Matthew Stafford. Hopefully he stays healthy enough hopefully both of these quarterbacks stay healthy, but hopefully Stafford can fill in when Lamar's not, winning me the league. So I went Eckler, Dobbins, Penny, A-Chain, Kelly. I'm fine with everything except the Kelly pick. I wish I wouldn't have done that, but it is what it is. I still think I can get enough running back production, especially from Eckler and Dobbins most weeks, and hopefully Penny has some weeks and A-Chain has some weeks, and there's some correlation there too with Baltimore. That's kind of my bring back, and Waddle too. So I have Waddle, London, Ayuk. I get the Zay Flowers and Bateman double stack with Lamar and Elijah Moore, Rondale Moore, Darius Slayton as a bring back for my Higbee and Stafford stack, and I get Dulcich is falling like a rock, and I get it, but I don't know if he has to be the starting tight end to be used. I mean, the Joker literally is the Joker role. I mean, they can use him just about any position they want to, and so I think his ADP is falling way too much, and I'm a big fan of his talent. I think he displayed that he could be an elite producer in an offense last year. Just go look at his game log. I think he had a week where he finishes the tight end 2 overall, and then Michael Mayer. So I've got some really good shots at tight end, even though I didn't spend a lot of capital on it. Because I think Michael Mayer in that offense, I kind of alluded to it earlier. It's going to be an offense that's going to be in a lot of negative game scripts. He has Austin Hooper to compete with, but I think there's a good chance he's better than Austin Hooper. And so Michael Mayer's a really good tight end. And I think this crop of rookie tight ends, Sam Laporta, you're seeing Luke Musgrave from Green Bay making some noise in training camp as their starting tight end. And now Michael Mayer. I think this group of rookie tight ends is going to be like the 2017 crop of running backs. I think it's going to really reset the market as far as, Kelsey being the only option. I think this time next year, we're going to look and say, oh man, there's a lot of good tight end options. Which one do we think is going to, finish above the others? And that's kind of going to be the debate. I think there's a lot of good rookie tight ends. And I think that getting one of them, whether it's Laporta, Mayer, or Musgrave, could be a huge edge in these tournaments. So getting Mayer there, I love taking a shot on him. So anyway, any final thoughts before we get out of here? We got the Deep End Invitational going on tonight, which is why we had to bump up our time. So what do you guys think? Any bold predictions, plugs you want to make before we get out of here?
No, just go check out the Deep End podcast. The Invitational Day 3 is out there. PlayerProfiler.com/articles. You can get my recent work on Superflex strategies, keeper league strategies, and all of our work here at Player Profiler. So just go check it all out.
Yeah, echoing Matt for Player Profiler for all of our work. My Twitter's at ADI_FEL for football and some basketball stuff there too, if you guys are fans of basketball. One more thing I want to add, we talked a lot about Sam Laporta. I think he cracks the top 10 tight ends this year, which I know is kind of rare for rookies. But when I was at the expo, a lot of people were saying Sam Laporta late round target. So I'm going to take that as an indicator, and I think he finishes top.
I love that. I love that prediction. So we real quick, we got people in the chat. We got Dane saying this garbage. They only saw 5 touchdowns all year. Fields will do that in week 1 against the Packers. We have Daniel Rebstock. This is a dynasty podcast, Daniel, but it's draft season, so we thought we'd do a little best ball. We like to mix it up every once in a while, and apparently I was also talking too much, so he's laughing his ass off. That's what that means, laughing my ass off, LMAO, just in case you guys, there's some people out there who don't know what that is. So he was laughing at me, but he did say, nice stream, keep up the good work. So thank you for watching, Daniel, as much. Or I could keep talking now. That might be funny. So Sam, of course, we got Sam. You clicked it at the same time. His long shot is that I'm going to close the show smoothly.
Plus 2,500.
That's a big bet. That'd be a big payoff. So until next time, guys. Oh, we didn't run an ad, or not an ad, an informative segment. It's hard to do with the draft. We just should have done it before the draft,
We
it'd be
really
kind of weird
call it
to
an
do
ad read in our internal comms, so I don't understand.
Yeah.
Go
get the draft kit.
Ad reads.
Yeah. Go get the draft kit. It's alive on the site. It's amazing. I'm not going to run the ad read, but the producer for the show, this is the ad read for the draft kit. It's live on the Player Profiler site. Go do that and go watch Trey Gods tomorrow, because if you think I'm talking too much now, it's going to be me and Tyler Football on Trey Gods tomorrow. So go check that out tomorrow. And now I think we can. I think we've checked all of our boxes. I think it's time to end the show. So any final words of wisdom before I click the button? I've got it pulled up. I think we're going to do it this time.
Pull the lever, Kronk.
Let's
All
see.
right. Nobody cares about Aaron Rodgers. We'll see you next time.
Hey, I want to take a moment to thank you for tuning in. It's important to me that all of our media be free. This is only possible because of you allowing a true independent sports media enterprise to thrive unlike any other in the business. So please subscribe to the All In Package to continue to make all of this possible, to ensure that all of our stats, information, data, content is available to you, especially you, the people that get the site and get the show.